A woman has now been charged with the murder of a doctor from the Community Hospital of Monterey Peninsula. It's now a sentence that's going to cost her 10 to 25 years in prison in Nevada. 29-year-old Kelsey Turner. She's a former Men's Magazine model. She's said to have had an intimate relationship with a 71-year-old doctor, Thomas Bruchard of Salinas.
In the serene town of Monterey, California, Dr. Thomas Bruchard, a well-respected child psychiatrist, dedicated his life to helping young minds. His journey began in the vibrant city of Boston, where he grew up, before relocating to Virginia with his father, a renowned professor at Harvard University. Inspired by his medical school experiences, Dr. Bruchard developed a profound passion for child psychology. Little did he know that his career at the Community Hospital of Monterey Peninsula would span over 4 decades, leaving an indelible mark on countless lives. Dr. Bruchard's compassionate nature extended beyond his professional realm. Known for his generosity, he often went above and beyond to assist his young patients and their families, providing financial aid to those struggling to afford treatment. His kindness didn't stop there. He dedicated his spare time to volunteering and nurturing his lifelong passion for magic, a skill that brought joy and wonder to his young patients. With his deep understanding of how childhood experiences shape adult behavior, Dr. Bruchard formed fatherly relationships with troubled women, hoping to guide them towards a brighter future. His generosity was particularly evident when it came to single mothers facing adversity. He would often reach out to these women online, offering financial assistance to alleviate their struggles. These women were often on the brink of despair, contemplating prostitution, battling drug addiction, or facing homelessness. Dr. Bruchard's intentions were pure. He sought to help them turn their lives around, offering a lifeline of support without any expectation of physical or sexual favors. As Dr. Bruchard aged, his sharp mind began to show signs of decline. His longtime partner, Judy R.P., noticed the early onset of dementia, characterized by forgetfulness and disorientation. To cope with his memory lapses, he carried a small notebook containing his bank account numbers and PINs, a lifeline in moments of confusion. However, the most concerning change was the escalating amount of money he was sending to these women. What began as hundreds of dollars gradually increased to thousands as his mental state deteriorated. Instead of helping many women, his focus seemed to narrow down to one individual. Fate brought Dr. Bruchard's path to intersect with that of Kelsey Turner, a 25-year-old aspiring model trying to make her mark in California. Her Instagram account presented a carefully curated image of a glamorous lifestyle, filled with bikini shots, provocative tattoo pictures, and dimly lit nightclub selfies. Kelsey's social media persona exuded an aura of confidence and success. She had a knack for editing her selfies, transforming herself into a Bratz doll with exaggerated features and heavy makeup. Scattered among her posts were professional shots from Playboy Italia and Maxim magazines, showcasing her modeling aspirations. Beneath the carefully crafted facade, Kelsey was a single mother of 2, struggling to make ends meet with her sporadic modeling gigs. Her career had failed to take off, and despite her efforts to rub shoulders with A-listers, she remained stuck in a cycle of financial instability. As she grew older, her desperation to secure a major modeling contract intensified. Kelsey yearned for a life of glitz and glamour, believing that modeling would be her ticket to that dream. In 2016, Kelsey's fortunes changed when she received a message from Dr. Thomas Bruchard, a seemingly innocuous encounter that would ultimately lead to tragedy. Kelsey quickly recognized Dr. Bruchard's potential as a source of financial support, a means to the luxurious lifestyle she so desperately craved. She played the game skillfully, manipulating Dr. Bruchard with a calculated charm. Thus began a dangerous liaison that would strip the beloved doctor of his dignity, and ultimately his life. Kelsey's initial requests were modest, a few $100s here and there to help with her children's needs or to pay an overdue utility bill. It didn't take long for her to realize that Dr. Bruchard's generosity knew no bounds. She escalated her demands, securing a monthly allowance with seemingly no effort. All it took was a sob story and a few tears over the phone. As Dr. Bruchard's mental health declined, Kelsey's greed grew exponentially. She convinced him to lease her a new convertible car, making the payments on her behalf. When Kelsey's poor credit prevented her from securing a rental home, Dr. Bruchard stepped in, signing a lease in his own name and paying the rent and utilities. Soon, Kelsey's lifestyle was entirely funded by Dr. Bruchard's generosity. From an outsider's perspective, it appeared that Dr. Bruchard had become Kelsey's sugar daddy. However, Kelsey vehemently denied this arrangement to her friends, insisting that their relationship was purely platonic. She spun a tale of a smitten doctor who was determined to ensure her and her children's well-being. Over a span of less than 3 years, Dr. Bruchard poured over $300,000 into Kelsey's lifestyle, yet she had nothing to show for it. Her financial situation remained unchanged, her modeling career had not progressed, and Dr. Bruchard's money seemed to be funding her lavish lifestyle, designer handbags, and plastic surgery addiction rather than any meaningful investments in her future. Despite his declining condition, Dr. Bruchard sensed that something was amiss. He realized that he was being taken advantage of and made the difficult decision to cut Kelsey off. Judy, his longtime partner, supported his decision and offered her assistance, even involving social workers to help navigate the situation. For years, Judy had witnessed Kelsey's manipulation of Dr. Bruchard, but he was a grown man and entitled to make his own choices. Judy's observations, gleaned from Kelsey's social media posts, revealed that Dr. Bruchard's money was being squandered rather than being used to improve the lives of her 2 children, as he had intended. Kelsey was well aware of Judy's disapproval and her efforts to end their relationship. She sent threatening messages to Dr. Bruchard, stating that Judy was on the list and that she would kill her if she got evicted. Judy encouraged Dr. Bruchard to confront Kelsey and inform her that he would no longer be supporting her lifestyle. Initially, Dr. Bruchard preferred to meet in person, but eventually, he conceded that it was time to end the arrangement. He informed Kelsey that he would no longer be paying her rent, effectively terminating their financial relationship. Kelsey's reaction to Dr. Bruchard's decision was one of rage and entitlement. She felt that she deserved his money, that she had earned everything he had given her and more. Her true colors emerged as she refused to accept the end of their arrangement. She dug her claws deeper into Dr. Bruchard's life, resorting to threats and manipulation to maintain her hold on him. Kelsey threatened to go to the police and make false accusations of child molestation against him, a devastating allegation that would ruin his career and reputation. Dr. Bruchard knew that these claims were baseless, but he also understood the potential damage they could inflict on his practice. Weary of Kelsey's relentless demands and embarrassed by the relationship, he succumbed to her threats. He continued to pay her rent, her car payments, and provided her with additional cash. In late 2018, Kelsey decided to relocate to Las Vegas, driven by the loss of custody of one of her children and the allure of a fresh start in a new city. She convinced Dr. Bruchard to finance her move, leasing a new house for her to live in upon her arrival. For a few weeks, Dr. Bruchard had no contact with Kelsey until she reached out in early March, claiming to be in desperate need of his support. This time, her story was that she was sick and unable to work. She went on to reveal that her new boyfriend was abusive and that she couldn't even afford to feed her son. Dr. Bruchard, with his compassionate heart and unwavering trust, relented and sent her more money, confiding in a friend that he felt partially responsible for her situation. However, this time, Dr. Bruchard resolved that this would be the final time he would send her money unless he was certain that she was telling the truth. He had come to realize that she was a pathological liar, though he had been in denial for some time. In a final act of generosity, Dr. Bruchard paid 3 months' rent in advance for her new place in Las Vegas. He then decided that he needed to see for himself whether her claims of sickness and abuse were genuine, or if she was simply manipulating him once again. Despite Judy's pleas to stay home and cut Kelsey off remotely, Dr. Bruchard booked a flight to Las Vegas on March 1, 2019. On the morning of March 7, a gruesome discovery was made on a dirt road near the Lake Mead recreation area, just outside Las Vegas. An abandoned Mercedes-Benz convertible, leased by Kelsey Turner, was found with its windows rolled down. Inside the vehicle, a fire had been lit in the passenger seat, but it had burned out, leaving only the headrest charred. Bottles, latex gloves, and personal items were scattered throughout the car. Bloodstains covered the driver's seat, back seat, and headrest, emitting an unmistakable odor. As officers opened the trunk, they were met with a horrifying sight: the body of an adult male, later identified as Dr. Thomas Bruchard. His remains were bruised and battered, bearing evidence of severe trauma. An autopsy revealed that he had died from multiple blunt force traumas to the head. But the brutality didn't end there. Across his face, neck, arms, and chest were hundreds of bruises, scrapes, and cuts, some forming a distinct pattern. Part of one ear was missing, and his body was unrecognizable due to the extensive blood and bruising. His hands showed clear signs of defensive wounds. Dr. Bruchard's body had been left in the trunk for several days, and the decomposition process was accelerated by the scorching Nevada sun. Judy, who had reported him missing on March 2nd after he failed to respond to her text messages, was advised not to view his body due to the gruesome injuries and advanced decomposition. It didn't take long for police to identify the vehicle as being leased by Kelsey Turner. A missing persons report for Dr. Thomas Bruchard was associated with the same address as her car, making Kelsey the prime suspect from the outset. How did Dr. Thomas Bruchard, a respected child psychiatrist, end up brutally beaten to death and abandoned in Kelsey Turner's sports car? It was clear that one woman could not have carried out such a savage attack on her own. It became evident that Kelsey had help. Based on witness statements and extensive police investigation, the following account of events unfolded. Dr. Bruchard arrived in Las Vegas on March 1, 2019. The home he had rented for Kelsey was an ordinary-looking family home. Kelsey and her boyfriend John, along with Kelsey's son and a roommate named Diana, occupied the upper floor. On the lower floor lived another roommate, Jeremy. According to the two roommates, on March 2nd, Jeremy's girlfriend showed up while the others were drinking and socializing. Aware of Kelsey's lavish lifestyle funded by Dr. Bruchard, she struck up a conversation with him. Like Kelsey, she saw an opportunity to exploit his generosity. When the group decided to get some snacks, she offered to drive and take Dr. Bruchard along, hoping to secure a financial arrangement of her own. Kelsey's reaction was one of fury. Not only was she enraged that Dr. Bruchard had come to Las Vegas to potentially cut her off, but she also saw this woman as a threat to her meal ticket. Kelsey lost control, screaming at the woman until Jeremy and his girlfriend left the house. That same night, Kelsey discovered explicit photos on Dr. Bruchard's phone, a shocking revelation that sent her into a spiral. To her horror, the photos were of Kelsey's own mother, who had also contacted Dr. Bruchard with sob stories and pleas for financial assistance. Kelsey erupted in anger, threatening to expose Dr. Bruchard's alleged inappropriate behavior with children. This accusation sent shockwaves through the household, and Dr. Bruchard, overwhelmed by the escalating situation, locked himself in Kelsey's son's bedroom. Fortunately, Kelsey's son was spending the night at a friend's house, a fact that would prove to be pivotal in the events that followed. As Diana recounted, this moment marked the beginning of the end for Dr. Thomas Bruchard. With Kelsey's encouragement, her boyfriend John kicked down the child's bedroom door, armed with a baseball bat. Moments later, when Diana rushed into the room, she found Dr. Bruchard with a large red bruise on his temple, blood trickling down his face. Diana managed to convince John to put down the bat, and she brought Dr. Bruchard a glass of water. It was clear that he needed immediate medical attention. He was slipping in and out of consciousness. Kelsey and John had retreated downstairs, but the only way out of the house to get help was to pass by them. With Diana's support, Dr. Bruchard slowly made his way downstairs, hoping to reach the hospital. Eventually, they reached the garage without incident. Dr. Bruchard climbed into the back of Kelsey's car, the same car that he had been paying for, waiting for John or Kelsey to drive them to the hospital. Diana, unable to drive, sat in the back seat with him, trying to keep him conscious and calm. She repeated that he shouldn't let Kelsey get into trouble, and if anyone at the hospital asked what happened, he should say he had been mugged. Time passed, but neither John nor Kelsey came to drive them to the hospital. Dr. Bruchard began to mumble to Diana that Kelsey was probably going to kill him. Finally, Kelsey emerged from the house and ordered Diana to clean up the mess. She instructed Diana to clean the blood from the walls where John had hit Dr. Bruchard and to make sure to remove the bloodstains from the bed in her son's room. She also demanded that Diana wash their bloodied clothes. Kelsey promised that she would take Dr. Bruchard to the hospital once the house was clean and the situation had calmed down. However, Dr. Bruchard, sensing that this was a ploy to get him back into the house and vulnerable, refused to get out of the car. As Diana walked upstairs, she overheard Kelsey yelling at John to knock Dr. Bruchard out. She rushed back to the garage, but it was too late. Kelsey prevented her from entering the garage and ordered her to go back upstairs and continue cleaning. Despite being older and seemingly more mature than John and Kelsey, Diana complied with their demands. Dr. Bruchard, a 71-year-old man, sat defenseless in the back seat of the car as the frenzied attack began. Kelsey's greed for money had transformed into a violent bloodlust. Already battered from the baseball bat to the head, Dr. Bruchard was mercilessly hit multiple times with the butt of a gun and another unidentified object, leaving a zigzag pattern across his face. His ear was partially removed with a knife, and he was repeatedly struck, his blood splattering throughout the vehicle. Trapped in the two-door car, he had no chance to escape as Kelsey and John continued their brutal assault. Kelsey's phone records revealed that the following day, she drove out to the desert, where she abandoned the car containing Dr. Bruchard's body. It remains unknown whether he died in the back of the car or was still alive when his body was stuffed into the trunk. Dr. Bruchard had been scheduled to return home on March 4th. When Judy received no response to her messages and he failed to board his flight, she immediately contacted the police, expressing her concern that he had been murdered. She provided detailed information, including the address of the house in Las Vegas that he was paying for. Police conducted welfare checks on the home on March 3, 4, and 5. Each time, they were unable to locate or make contact with Dr. Bruchard, despite finding the house unlocked and the lights on. The house appeared empty, and there was no sign of forced entry. Cleaning supplies were scattered throughout the home, and it seemed as if the residents were in the process of moving out. Nothing else suspicious was noted during these welfare checks. No calls or messages had been made from Dr. Bruchard's phone after March 3. He had no opportunity to call for help, and the only other person in the house who could have intervened chose to ignore the violence unfolding inside. Diana was aware that something terrible was happening in the garage, but she chose to stay upstairs cleaning rather than call for help or intervene. In the days following Dr. Bruchard's murder, Diana continued to assist Kelsey and John in cleaning the house and disposing of the evidence. As the investigation gained momentum, it became increasingly clear who had the most to gain from Dr. Bruchard's death. Kelsey was at the center of it all. Judy's missing person report revealed that Dr. Bruchard had traveled to Las Vegas to meet with Kelsey. His body was found inside her vehicle, and the house where Kelsey lived showed signs of a recent cleanup. Even the blue and white striped towels found wrapped around Dr. Bruchard's body matched those found in Kelsey's home. After speaking with Judy, the police realized that Dr. Bruchard's notebook containing his bank account numbers and passwords was missing. A warrant was issued for Kelsey Turner's arrest. Police went public with the story of a kind doctor brutally murdered for money by a ruthless gold digger. The FBI became involved once they received a tip that Kelsey had crossed state lines back into California on March 21, 2019. Kelsey was eventually found by police hiding out with friends near Stockton, California. Her 4-year-old son was with her at the time and was immediately placed in the care of social workers. After Kelsey's arrest, a date was set for her extradition from California to face justice in Las Vegas. However, Kelsey's tricks were not yet exhausted. While in custody, she revealed that she was pregnant with her third child. This development delayed her extradition, while her health was assessed to determine if it was safe for her to travel to Las Vegas. Kelsey denied any involvement in Dr. Bruchard's murder and instead implicated Diana. Diana voluntarily came forward and spoke with the police, providing a detailed account of what she had witnessed. She was charged with conspiring to commit murder and accessory to murder. Diana's testimony implicated both Kelsey and John in Dr. Bruchard's murder. John was arrested a few days later and charged with felony murder. He initially pleaded not guilty but later changed his plea to guilty after receiving a plea deal from prosecutors. In early 2022, he was sentenced to 18 to 45 years in prison. Kelsey continued to deny any involvement in court, maintaining her innocence. She appeared moody and pretentious, playing with her hair and pouting her lips. Her claims of physical inability to move Dr. Bruchard's body from the back seat of the car to the trunk, due to her small stature, were repeatedly dismissed. She continued to point the finger at Diana, claiming that Diana's testimony was a manipulative attempt to shift the blame and exonerate herself. While in custody, Kelsey gave birth to a daughter, who was immediately taken into the care of social services. Kelsey's trial faced numerous delays due to her pregnancy and the COVID-19 pandemic. For Judy, the pain of Dr. Bruchard's loss continues to linger. In the months leading up to his murder, she had tried to convince him to cut Kelsey off completely. She believed that Dr. Bruchard was on the verge of doing so when he made the fateful decision, driven by his old-school values, to have the conversation in person rather than over the phone or by message.
The world was viciously ripped from me. Since that time, I have suffered unimaginable grief and loss, which has taken its toll on me.
Kelsey Turner was sentenced to 10 to 25 years in prison for killing Dr. Thomas. She entered an Alford plea and acknowledged that prosecutors could prove second-degree murder. This will help avoiding a trial. She was sentenced after her boyfriend received an 18 to 45-year prison sentence for his role in the murder. Diana pleaded guilty to accessory to murder and testified against Kelsey. Kelsey's attorney stated that the plea deal was the best resolution to the case. Kelsey had brutally slaughtered Dr. Bruchard for one sole motive: money. Her greed ran so deep that she took a dedicated and experienced doctor away from his patients and community, and a loving man away from his friends. Don't hesitate to let me know what do you think in the comments section, and please like and subscribe. This will help my channel to grow.